Welcome to the world of animal allies, the doctors, volunteers, pet owners and other surprising visitors who are out there making a difference. In Australia, animal doctors arm themselves as a big patient at the Perth Zoo is about to go under the surgeon's knife. While in Denmark, the frog is hopping happy thanks to one dedicated scientist and an army of animal helpers. This week's How-To has some practical advice on wayward dogs. And in Animal World, Africanized killer bees go on the attack. It's not every day you have an appointment, let alone get up close and personal with the king of the jungle. But Alistair, the aging African lion, needs immediate medical attention. A lump has mysteriously appeared on his bottom lip. Senior vet doctor Cree Monaghan and her team at the Perth Zoo in Western Australia are making preparations for surgery.
It's in a relatively awkward spot to remove because we're going to have to dissect it actually off his lip, so it's quite important we do it now when it's the size that it is.
There's no sort of history of any trauma or anything to his lip area. I guess he's an old boy, so it's quite common to get sort of skin type lumps in older animals.
It may be, there is a possibility it could be an abscess, but it does appear, probably looks a little bit more like a cancer of some sort. So that's just the dart pistol.
A tranquilizer dart will be fired into Alistair from close range to sedate
There's a
him.
whole series of things that we do before.
And with an immensely powerful, fully grown lion, there can be no mistakes. It will be a rare opportunity for these university vet students too. They've been invited to watch the surgery. A specially equipped mobile animal ambulance will transport Alistair to the operating theatre.
Take the face mask with him facing, with his head facing this way, legs facing this way. So it's really simple. We just slide him onto the table and go straight up and straight on in front of the machine.
Yeah, okay.
Is that okay?
Yep, so then his head's facing out towards the cupboards.
Yeah.
Okay.
Trusty face mask.
An armed zookeeper is on hand, ready for the unexpected. Although Alistair is a good-natured lion, like most of us, he's not keen on needles. It only takes a few minutes to dart the big cat, but the team must now act quickly as the tranquilizer does not last for long.
You can just sitting down on that black mat and then drag, work on drag the black mat as well.
With a 200-kilogram patient, it takes many hands to lift Alistair onto the operating table. While under anaesthetic, he will also have a full medical checkup. The veterinary team must ensure he stays sedated for at least an hour and a half.
Thank you. Just be wary that he's not completely stabilised at the moment. Are you happy?
In Alistair's case, that will mean being pumped with enough anaesthetic to tranquilise 20 domestic cats.
So trying to actually put a tube down into his windpipe or his trachea, which will then connect to the anaesthetic machine, and that maintains his anaesthetic for the duration of the procedure. It's a long way down though. Male lions' heads are very big. We don't anaesthetise the lions that often because it's such a procedure and we have to get so much organised and a lot of people involved, so we only do it when there's a necessity to do it. And we have a lion that's on primary.
Anaesthesia is not risk-free. The team will keep a close eye on Alistair in case the 17-year-old has a reaction.
That's been clipped up to put an IV catheter in, and that goes inside the vein, and then we can run fluids actually into the veins. It enables the animal to be well hydrated during an anaesthetic procedure, so its fluid levels are good, and it also means that we've got access to an IV line if we had some problems with the anaesthetic. So this is identical procedure to having an IV line put in humans when they put you on a drip. It's exactly what we're doing here.
These rasps are staying steady.
It's not uncommon for lions to have growths, but the doctors are leaving nothing to chance. Alistair has already had a brush with cancer, losing a testicle. At the time, it was so stressful he also lost his trademark mane. The vets are hoping the lump on his lip is not malignant. But in case it is cancerous, a good proportion of flesh under the growth will be cut out to prevent any abnormal cells spreading. The tissue will then be sent away for testing to determine the exact cause and whether Alistair will need further treatment. In Animal Doctors Part 2, what the doctors found when they operated on Alistair and what it means for his future.
If frogs are symbols of the health of our environment, then there is cause for concern. For the highly sensitive frog is disappearing at an alarming rate. One of them, the European tree frog, has almost completely vanished from its natural habitat and is now officially listed as an endangered species. But thanks to one dedicated Danish biologist and an army of animal helpers, this tiny green amphibian is making a comeback. Frogs live on or near ponds. But the drainage of wetlands for agriculture has all too often left the frog without a home. And the exposure to chemicals and introduced fish that eat tadpoles has not helped. In Denmark, there are few pristine ponds left for this frog. One of the surviving ponds is on army land. Biologist Cora Foe recognized the plight of the European tree frog and made it his goal to save them.
My motto is actually, the worst thing you can do is to do nothing. I personally came into the picture in 1987 when the population here was down at 4 males. And the tree frog is one of those relatively sensitive species. It's more sensitive to many kinds of changes than the most common frogs and toads are. So it declines faster and sooner than the more common species do.
With the support of the Danish military, a rescue mission was put into action, and Cora Foe stepped in where Mother Nature was struggling. He took home frog eggs from one polluted pond and nurtured them in an aquarium. Left alone, the eggs would have perished.
1 year later, and I wouldn't have succeeded. But in a way, it was too late, because they had already become weakened. When I took the eggs, I observed that a certain proportion of them did not hatch. There could be various explanations for that. One of them could be this is an effect of inbreeding.
The inbreeding had not only caused infertility, but also mutations. The biologist needed to strengthen the frog's gene pool. Once he had froglets strong enough to survive, he released them back into the wild.
I thought, where should I put them back? And I decided 1/3 back in this original place. 1/3 at the military training ground, 3-4 kilometers from here, which I thought is a good area. There's no impact of fertilizers. And the third place is a small wood 10 kilometers from here. Then we have the possibility to mix and improve the strength.
The military also joined forces with Cora in restoring the many ponds that once covered this wetland. A search and destroy mission for old drainage pipes that used to irrigate farmland swung into action. Once the pipes are broken up, the pond will soon refill naturally and the frogs will be home free. With Cora Foe and the Danish Defence Forces as its allies, the European tree frog's future in Denmark looks a little brighter.
But if you step out of your door and listen into the night and you hear the frogs calling all over, this is spring. You feel the seasons, you feel there's life out here. It gives you something. It gives you a feeling as things are nice. I think somehow it makes an impact on you, on how you feel and think.
After the break, Animal Allies will be back with the buzz on killer bees. And could Alistair be facing another cancer scare? If your dog is an escape artist, help is at hand. Animal Allies guide to escape-proofing your yard. Tim Scrine is an animal ally who has the know-how to stop your dog from roaming.
Good morning, my name's Tim, I'm from All Breeds Dog Training.
Hi Tim, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Tim, this is Dakota.
Anne-Marie's 6-month-old German Shepherd keeps escaping through a side gate.
Okay, so this is the area you're having problems with?
Yep, just down the side there and also through that little gap in the bottom of the gate.
Sure, there's one solution that'll sort out both of these problems for you. And what we're going to do is lay down a grid on the other side of the gate which will discourage him from moving up to the actual gate line. I've got $3.90 worth of chicken wire from the local hardware store and 4 bricks that I've collected in the backyard. The way the grid works, much the same as a cattle grid, cattle won't walk over a cattle grid for fear of getting their hoofs caught down in the grid. Dogs won't walk over chicken wire suspended over the ground for fear of getting their paws caught down in the wire. Especially on the edges, make sure it's nice and high. And this will be the deterrent for him to walk in this area. And an alternative to using the dog grid would be placing a pot plant in front of the gap in the gate, and we could use some stakes along the edge of the gateway to stop the dog from pushing through.
In a few months, when Dakota is too big to escape through the gate, the grid can be easily removed. To make a dog grid, remember this week's Animal Allies how-to. Place 4 or more bricks on the ground. Suspend chicken wire over the bricks, or alternatively use pot plants and stakes to secure your yard.
The humble honeybee has been buzzing around suburban backyards for centuries. But the world of these industrious little insects is much wider and far more intriguing. There are thousands of bee species. One of the most unique and dangerous is the Africanized honeybee. Dr. Eric Erickson from Arizona's Bee Research Center has been studying their habits.
That particular Africanized bee is extremely defensive. It will come out in large numbers, thousands of bees within 15 seconds from the hive entrance to defend the hive.
The aggressive African honeybee was imported to Brazil in 1956 as part of a breeding experiment with the docile European variety. There, the Africanized honeybee was born. But 26 of the queen bees escaped into the wild and reproduced with the local bees. Because of their aggressiveness, they quickly became a menace in Central and South America, as Dr. Justin Schmidt from the US Department of Agriculture explains.
They're normal honeybees that just weren't domesticated, basically, and through natural selection, got more defensive because Africa has a lot of nasty predators. We have a few here, but Africa has many, many more. And it's a tough place to live in Africa for honeybee.
Africanized bees, often dubbed the killer bee, do not fly around looking for victims. They will only attack to protect the hive. People and domesticated animals inevitably are at the end of the bee's sting.
In Arizona, we've lost 3 people to Africanized bees, and all 3 were elderly people who probably had some pre-existing medical condition. We don't know in all cases, but we presume that. We've lost a number of dogs. We've lost 2 racehorses, a couple of breeding emus, and some variety of other farm birds and animals.
In the hot Arizona desert, Dr. Erickson and his team have set up a program to study the Africanized bee.
Normally, if we were keeping normal bees, we wouldn't wear this much equipment, but this is a special circumstance.
The scientists wear protective clothing from top to toe. The bees can sense vibrations up to 50 meters away. If they're disturbed, the bees quickly become angry and stay that way for days.
Now you can see them and you can hear them.
They will attack, going straight for the most vulnerable areas, eyes, nose and mouth. The bees have learnt they can cripple their prey more effectively by stinging around their head.
They are offended by mammalian breath, and it's the normal chemicals that are exhaled by mammals, and through the process of evolution they've begun to recognize that. You might think of it in terms of Winnie the Pooh sticking Winnie's nose into a cavity where there were bees, and the first thing that goes in, of course, is the nose and the mouth, and so that would be the easy thing for the bees to evolve a defense for.
The sting of an Africanized bee is no more lethal than other bees. The reason they're more dangerous to animals and humans is that they attack in far greater numbers. But the price the bee pays for stinging is its life. A black rubber ball hanging from Dr. Erickson's hat records the number of bee hits. In just a few minutes, thousands are counted.
The lethal level for bee stings is approximately 6 stings per pound of body weight. So if you incur more than that, you're starting to approach a lethal dose of venom.
The bad-tempered bees don't give up even when the intruder is driven away.
If you do nothing but depart and, as I do, walk away at a brisk pace, they will follow me up to a half to 2/3 of a mile.
The bees frequently swarm in search of a new nest. When a colony swarms, the original queen leaves the hive with half the population of the nest. The remaining bees then rear a new queen. While the world of these busy 4-winged workers is intriguing, scientists warn the Africanized honeybee is dangerous and should be treated with caution and respect.
Back on the operating table at the Perth Zoo in Australia, Alistair the African lion is having a nasty-looking lump removed from his lip. Even though everything is going well, an armed zookeeper remains in the operating theatre in case the lion wakes up. Once the lump is removed, the team has a rare opportunity to give Alistair a complete medical checkup. He hasn't been fully assessed in almost 3 years. The 17-year-old lion is starting to show signs of aging. After the surgeon stitches up Alistair's lip, the medical team take samples of blood, check Alistair's eyes and ears, administer a vaccination, examine the big cat's paws, and even clean his teeth.
Sometimes they get a bit of build-up of fairly soft material on their teeth, and once again we get an opportunity to clean the teeth and have a good look around the mouth at an occasion like this. So getting rid of it is quite important because they can develop gum disease around the margins of the tooth if we don't get it clean.
Alistair's in good shape, but the main concern is the troublesome black growth on his lip. Laboratory tests will tell the complete story, but it's certainly not an abscess.
And this quite clearly looks like tumour tissue. It could be something fibrous, which might be a reaction to something, but it really does have a lot of consistency, so I would suggest it probably is a cancer. I don't know which type of tumour, but I'm guessing it'll be a benign tumour of some kind.
The results won't be known for a week. But for now, at least, the operation has gone without a hitch, and the team is confident Alistair won't suffer any side effects.
At the end of this procedure, we give him some pain relief as well for when he wakes up, so that it's going to be less sore. It will be, potentially could be a bit sore around his mouth. So the hope would be that with some extra drugs to deal with that, he shouldn't feel anything at all. And knowing what his behaviour will be like, he'll be back eating pretty much straight away.
And so he was, although eating just a little bit less than before. After weighing Alistair, it was decided he needed to trim down from his current 200 kilos. As for the laboratory analysis of the removed growth, better news for the big cat. It was a harmless, fibrous tumour. Alistair should be king of the Perth Zoo jungle for a few more years yet. In the next programme, the world of animal allies returns when British vet Doc Newlove struggles to remove the horns from a herd of hefty cows. And we travel to South Africa to find out why this little creature called the rock hyrax is related to one of the largest, the elephant.
There are ways to make